another live edition of the NFL live stream here over at WinDailySports.com. By the way, go to WinDailySports.com. Check out all of our content, whether that's MLB DFS, whether that's NFL season-long rankings, DFS content. We already have a way too early week one, I think, article up from you, Stoweby, I think it was. We're going to get a lot more of those.
That was for preseason. We're going to have full-blown week one. We've got the schedule set up. There are going to be articles dropping very, very, very soon. I'm working on this week 3 slate now for preseason. Beautiful. Be ready for some ugly names.
Yeah.
But be ready to roll. All the main content is coming out very, very soon.
I love it. And you can sign up right now, 6-month membership, get $100 off. Use the promo code NFL2021. Okay, so as you can tell by the title of this live stream, we're going to go over some breakout players. We have not talked about this amongst ourselves, so Stoweby and I are probably going to react to this. Very live reaction, very maybe good reactions, bad reactions, but we have a ton of them. Stoweby, who do you want to throw out first? I'll let you do the honors, so we can criticize you first before me. It'll make me feel better about myself. So let's go. Let's go with you first.
Let me see. You know what? Let's go ahead and talk. There's somebody that I've been eyeballing, and that is A.J. Dillon for Green Bay for a potential breakout.
Why is that?
Because the fact that LaFleur will not overwork Jones, and in a lot of situations, Green Bay, especially in like the first half of the season, they do tend to get ahead really early. You know, Rodgers is extremely efficient, and if they get up 3 or 4 touchdowns, they will tail back on Jones, and they
tail
will
back.
Double entendre.
I'm terrible. I'm the worst.
It's like a child, but yeah, AJ Dillon.
Indeed,
I expect AJ Dillon to get a whole lot of second half work, and I expect him to be getting used, a lot in short yardage situations. I mean, Jones, he never does it on a ton of volume. He's an extremely efficient running back. And we all saw Jamal Williams had standalone value for the majority of the time that he was there in Green Bay. So he's somebody that I'm looking to have a pretty good breakout year, and when Green Bay gets cold and you get those 10-degree days with the 15 below wind chill, a big guy like that is just punishing on a defense. And I think they're going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, we all know that a second running back can carve out a role in that offense. So A.J. Dillon will absolutely be able to. So I like the idea of A.J. Dillon. Like, they drafted him for a reason. The guy's a big bruising back, and he's got some speed to him. So I think he's slow. No, he's dynamic enough that I do think in that offense he'll be able to carve out an RB2 role the same way that Jamal Williams was able to. And I guess I'll stick with the running back. And I know Dillon is down there. He would be considered, I would say, probably a sleeper, some guy you take a flyer on. I'm going to go with the running back. You could probably get late second round, early third round. But Miles Sanders. Now, I have him because we've been waiting for the breakout. This season feels like if this is the make or break season for him, I think in real life as well, because he hasn't been able to carry the full workload in the way I think the Eagles have wanted to. And now he has a new coaching staff that he needs to impress. But I think he is so dynamic as a running back, and he's great catching out of the backfield. He's a great runner. I know Nick Sirianni is new, and we don't know much about that offense. And quite frankly, for taking away what they did in Indianapolis, I mean, they really used 2-3 backs in that offensive system. And so there is a running back by the name of Kenneth Gainwell who can kind of use that Nyheim Hines role. But if Miles Sanders is healthy, I think this is the year we see him over 1,000 yards. We see him become a productive pass-catching back. He's a good one. albeit an inconsistent pass catching back. And I think we finally see him healthy. I think this is the year we finally see that breakout season for Miles Sanders. And I think he can make his way into, the high-end RB2, low-end RB1 conversation this year. And if it doesn't happen, then I think it's, we finally get our answer of, okay, Miles Sanders just isn't it. But I actually think it's worth kind of putting that potential breakout label on him, just because I think with this new offensive system, he's going to get the opportunity to do so. It's just, can he stay healthy and can he be productive with those opportunities?
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely fair. The talent is always there. It was just he was either dealing with injuries or he was dealing with this goofy running back by committee thing that they like to do in Philly for no good reason.
It was so weird. I mean, even in the way they used it, it never made sense. It never made sense to take Sanders off the field for any situation, but the situations they were doing it and the players they were doing it for. You don't take Miles Sanders off the field for Boston Scott. Boston Scott's not that good. I mean, for a breather, but they were using Boston Scott as a literal pass catching back, but Sanders was better at that. Yep.
I mean, he was. And it's if they were smart and if he ends up getting anywhere north of 65-70% of the touches this year, his ceiling is immense.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think we're both good on that one.
Yeah, and a healthy offensive line. Need to add that.
The offensive line makes a big difference.
But again, if it does stay there, the potential I think is there. So who are you going with next for? We're going over potential breakouts here over at WinDailySports.com. So far, we have A.J. Dillon, Miles Sanders, so a couple of running backs. What do we got next there, Stoweby?
I'll go ahead and move over to wide receiver real quick. Somebody that I have kind of been hyping up, and I know. I think you're kind of there too, but I'm kind of a stan on, I'm a Ben Roethlisberger stan this year. I think I'm a little bit ahead on this.
Yeah, it's Deonte Johnson season.
Deonte Johnson season.
Yeah, it's going to be the year.
I think this is it. Yeah, and people were sitting there talking like during. I remember seeing a tweet, and I tweeted it out, and the lady that tweeted it said, he threw it 40 yards in the air and he couldn't get it to Deonte Johnson. It's like I went ahead and I tweaked it. I was like, okay, I'm going to translate this for everybody. A man who could not throw the ball 20 yards downfield last year is now throwing it 40 yards in a practice. And then he turned around and he uncorked one that was between 45 and 47 yards during the game. He's going to be able to get the ball down to Deonte Johnson now. So they're going to take advantage of his speed, and if he catches those passes, if he doesn't drop all those balls like he did last year, I think he has a monster season.
Yeah, I think he does as well. We are absolutely on the same page with that one, by the way. I completely agree with you there. Next one I want to go with, I'm going to go with a quarterback. Can I go a quarterback here? Let's do a quarterback.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Tua's going to light it up this season. Otunga Viloa is going to absolutely light it up. I think we're forgetting how good of a prospect he is. He was coming into the NFL, and I think just after 1 year of them putting him in a weird situation and not really the right offense, I think everybody kind of went down on him too quickly. His numbers really weren't that bad, and now that we know he's just the guy there, I think Tua has enough weapons to work with. I think that they're going to let him rip. Myles Gaskin is a fine running back, but Myles Gaskin's not a good running back, not a great one. So they are not going to be able to run the ball very well, and I think this is all going to be up to Otunga Viloa, and his skill is still immense. He is an accurate quarterback, and I think in preseason you don't want to take too much away. But at least what I saw in preseason was confidence. Somebody who was confident in stepping up in the pocket and letting it absolutely fly. And he's been throwing darts all preseason. Now, of course, things get more intense. You see different looks. But I think that part of the game was always the best for him. That part of the game of seeing different looks and reading deep, like he's fine with that stuff. It's just, can his confidence get there? And after the hip injury, it didn't seem like that he was fully 100% confident in what he could do on a football field. Now, what I am seeing, him step in the throws, him being able to maneuver around the pocket very easily and smoothly the way that he was doing at Alabama, and just the ball is coming out of his hand looking really good. I love Tua this season, and he has the right offense and the right weapons to work with him there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he's they've been, like I said, they like using those tight ends a lot, and they like using that short passing game. Those yards, that stuff is going to add up, and he still has. I know everybody, he had the hip injury and everything like that, and that freaked everybody out. But he's still got some mobility. He's going to run some too. So there's a little bit of value.
And we're now far removed from that, so I think we can we can project him to be a little bit quicker and better.
Yeah, and I think I think people. I don't think people give his running ability enough credit. He's not a slouch. I mean, he's not a burner, but he's quick enough to get around the edge. He's kind of like Ryan Tannehill. He is fast enough to get away from people.
Yeah. Yes. I think so as well.
Yeah. So I think that's fair. The only concern that I would have with Tua is just that defense, and are they going to need him to do a lot? Because that defense should be stout. I was a little worried when Xavier Howard was having the contract issues, but they got that sorted out. And that defense after about week 3 or 4 last season was just lights out. So that would be my only concern. If we got these lower point total games and that defense is stifling, kind of like it was last year, he may not have to do as much on the offensive side of the ball. So that is my only little bit of concern. But if these games, they stay close and he has to throw, his potential is absolutely there.
Yeah, I obviously think so as well. Love Tua this season. I liked him coming out of college, and I think he's just going to be spectacular. So next, who do you have? So we have a couple of running backs, a wide receiver, and a quarterback. Where are we going next?
Let's go ahead and go to tight end. I'm gonna tout my favorite
tight end.
Wow. My favorite tight end.
Wow.
I love me some Irv Smith Jr. this year.
Ooh, really?
I love the idea of him breaking out. He's gonna line up on the outside. Kyle Rudolph is gone, so he's gonna get those red zone opportunities. Adam Thielen, I know he always produces, but he is getting. It looks like he's getting. He's already the number 2 wide receiver now already, with Jefferson coming in like a revelation to everybody, just lights out right out of the gate. So. He brings a lot to the table. I mean, he's not the best blocker in the world, but that's not what they got him there for. So he's basically a hybrid wide receiver.
Yeah, we got a fan of that. I mean, the talent was always there, and now the opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
And so, if for this,
and it's year 3 for him too, and that's usually when tight ends break out.
And for this segment in particular, when we're talking about potential breakouts, the potential is there. We know the talent has always been, and now finally, everybody could say, oh, well, Irv Smith hasn't done, he's not going, but the potential breakout would be now. Because the opportunity is finally going to be there. We know the talent has always been there, and he'll get enough looks that he could have that potential breakout season. So I think he is a candidate for it, and this is the season for it to happen.
And I really need it to happen because I have a lot of Irv Smith.
I love it.
Got a lot of Irv Smith.
So windailysports.com is we can check out, and we're kind of going with all the season-long rankings here. So Irv Smith is tight end number 9 in our season-long rankings over at Win Daily Sports. Sign up right now for a gold membership, and you can unlock the season-long rankings. I'm going to go back to a wide receiver, and we talked about him a little bit yesterday. And I think everybody now in the industry is saying that this guy's breakout. But I think it's worth saying, like, Jerry Judy is due. This is breakout season. This is it. Because now he has the quarterback that is perfect for him. He had 113 targets. Yeah. Yes, he has 113 targets. He's a guy who's going to he's a possession receiver that does have, breakaway potential. But he's going to be open. And he had 113 targets, but only 52 receptions. And, even if Cortland Sutton comes back, I think those 113 targets are very sustainable for him. Like, I don't see that. Yeah. I don't see that becoming very different, and especially with Teddy Bridgewater in this offense. So he had 52 receptions, 856 yards receiving. Now, I can probably say the yards per reception, which was 16.5, is likely to go down just because it's a different kind of quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater is not going to stretch the field vertically the way that Drew Lock did. Teddy Bridgewater will not do that. But Jerry Judy can make the most out of those kind of passes, those short intermediate route passes that I don't think his yards per reception is going to dip enough, to negate the uptick in efficiency and catches made because of the targets that he had.
Oh yeah, there's they're gonna use a lot of those drag concepts and a lot of those short crossing route concepts to create those kind of natural rubs or picks. They're picks, but let's call them what they are. But they're gonna take advantage of that, and that's the sort of thing that Judy is gonna eat on. I mean, if these guys get crossed up in the middle of the field and the defenders kind of they miss their assignment there in that second to third level. I mean, he can take a crossing route 70 yards, no problem. It's well within his ability, and I think we'll see that a few times this year.
Yeah, I think we will. So I'm a big fan of his, and I think it's a breakout season. And of course, I said it, knowing that the rest of the industry is on Jerry Jeudy breakout season.
It still counts as a break. Yeah,
it still counts. Like it's worth mentioning here because if you're looking for breakout players, Jerry Jeudy is one of them, and draft accordingly there. Up next, now, I always like going through top players and even saying breakout. Like I think I could consider Terry McLaurin a breakout.
I was getting ready. Is that
your one? All right, go ahead. No, that's great then. That's great then. Let's go ahead with that one because I Terry McLaurin, like this is potential to be, not just a WR1, but sneak his way into the top 10, top 7. This is the season that he could really break out as not just hey, he's a great fantasy wide receiver. Start drafting him earlier to this guy is the fantasy wide receiver to have.
He could very well be in the conversation with the absolute top of the top by the end of the season.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that with Fitzpatrick throwing the ball, he could be a top 5 wide receiver this season.
I think so. And not to say, because I think what's easy to say, back to that, at least for someone like me, is, you keep saying Fitzpatrick's bad. Yeah, he is, but he's also one that's going to be a gunslinger and throw the ball downfield.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like he's perfect for fantasy. He's not perfect for Washington in real life because he can be bad at times and the turnovers are too much for teams to overcome. And it's why he's a journeyman, but he's a gunslinger, man. Perfect for Terry McLaurin.
And those turnovers work in our favor because then they get down and then he has to throw the ball more. It's like it was the Tony Romo effect for a while. It was the
Tony Romo effect. I love it.
It was the Jameis Winston effect. I mean, it was, Brett Favre to some degree, when he threw all those interceptions and then he had to turn around and have all those comebacks. I mean, everybody forgets he's the all-time leader in the NFL in interceptions. So
that's brutal.
I
tag him. I figured out what actually makes sense of how I would describe Ryan Fitzpatrick. He can be like debilitatingly bad, just things can go awry so quickly just because of how bad he can get. But there is enough good there for fantasy and enough, of his reckless attitude that does benefit fantasy football and does benefit a guy like Terry McLaurin. I don't care if Washington does good or not. For this purpose, for what we're talking about, Terry McLaurin, could have, almost 1,300 yards, I think, this season. I think that's a absolutely attainable number. Look, he had over 1,000 yards with about the worst group of quarterbacks in the NFL that I have seen in a long time. Alex Smith was great, and it was awesome to see his story and his comeback, but he couldn't throw a football. He was not ready to play in the NFL. And still, through all of that, Dwayne Haskins, he had 1,100 yards. I mean, if this gets, and that's on 12.9 yards per reception, he had 134 targets. And you could tell me that there are other wide receivers going to demand the target share. No, Terry McLaurin is by far the best. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is stubborn as all bleeping hell. And he's going to target him all the time. I mean, it's just perfect.
He's in it to have fun.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really, the guy's just there to have fun and to throw the football. So, I mean, he's going to wing it. He doesn't care. He's been in the league for 18 years now. The guy's just enjoying life until it's time to hang him up. So it's going to be fun. So yeah, I absolutely love Terry McLaurin with the 17 game season. His numbers could be just, eye popping.
So, all right, I will count that one as yours. I mentioned it just to say, like, hey, we can have top players, but you already knew. You know how this goes. So
yeah.
I'll go next, and this would be probably my last one, a tight end.
Ooh,
Tyler Higby. This
I like
is with Matthew Stafford. This is now almost a perfect situation for Higby. He's talented. He's been in the league for a while. Like, he's a veteran now. This is his sixth season. He's been there since 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20. Like, this is his sixth season. He's a veteran tight end, and he did well last year. He had 500 yards. It was just there were a lot of mouths to feed, and Jared Goff was bad, right? A lot of mouths to feed. They had another tight end on the opposite of him that took some targets. I just think Higby now with Matthew Stafford and the fact that he is tight end 1 by a long shot, like this is the season now. We could see, I think, close to 700-800 yards for him.
Oh yeah,
but I say 700-800 yards, and that's almost a tight end 5. So where he's going right now, we're projecting him to be good, but I don't think we're projecting Higby. He's 11th in our rankings. I would put him close to probably a top 5. I would say tight end this season. Can be potential breakout.
I was saying probably around 8, maybe.
Yes,
what I'm looking at just as a ballpark, fine. but still, that's plenty good for what you're paying for him. So that's not bad at all. Because if I don't know, I know nobody's a glutton enough of a punishment to watch the Detroit games, but if you look at Jared Goff, he's still doing it. He does not get past his second read. It's one read, 2 read, throw the ball. That's
not many times that your tight end's a first read. Not many.
Yeah, no. And that's why those guys got left in the dust. And that's the reason Cooks ended up in Houston, because he was underperforming in LA, but it wasn't because of him. His routes were fine. It was just that Jared Goff could never get through his progressions to actually reach him when he was the X, or when he was the final wide receiver in that combination. So that's why guys
Stafford if that's one thing I will say Stafford has gotten better at. Stafford early in his career just he just stared down his wide receiver, and for good reason. It was Calvin Johnson, but I feel like later on in Stafford's career, he has become a really good pocket passer and really good at surveying the field. And he's been like that in Detroit for a few years now. So I think Matthew Stafford absolutely has what it takes to get a guy like Higby the ball a ton.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So that was the last one I had. If you had any more,
I've got one more, and it was somebody we talked about yesterday. Laviska Shenault.
Oh, Viska! Yeah, Viska's going to be great. I love it. And I love Viska and the potential role that he could have now.
He gets the Travis Etienne role, and people don't realize that. It's like you guys were drafting Travis Etienne in like the 5th round when you didn't even know what was going to happen. But now you're not going to bump up Laviska Shenault now that he's going to have that exact same role. Yeah. Oh, y'all are crazy. You have to bump him up. Absolutely. Don't bump him up. I'll take him. Just go ahead and keep him where he is. And I'll go ahead and I'll keep picking him up in like the 7th round, 8th round, whatever. You guys can go ahead, just forget about him. I'll take him, and I'll go ahead and win all the money. I'll win all the monies.
So that is our potential breakout players. Let us know who you have over at Win Daily Sports on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Win Daily Sports. We have MLB videos going out there every day. We have a live stream every day for NFL. That once we get closer to the season, we're going to be up and running with a bunch of NFL content. So subscribe now for the season. And if you need MLB stuff, you can subscribe at the moment. So you can also get all of that now as well. Tomorrow, for a nice little Friday stream, Stoweby, I want to do some busts. We just did some breakout players. I want players that could potentially bust, not do well this season.
I've got some that might tilt a few people.
Oh, I love it. That's a tease, baby. That's what we like to call a tease. So tomorrow, be on the lookout for that. We'll be talking about the potential busts for the upcoming NFL season. But that is it for our breakout players. Thank you, Stoweby. My name is Jon Jansen. Follow me at jjansen34. Follow Stoweby at Stoweby on Twitter. We'll be back tomorrow right here, WinDailySports.com.